Hello there! I have been a Star Wars comics fan, since the beginning. So this bit of news that I heard this last week kind of concerns me. Welcome to Unboxing the Boxes, my Star Wars collection. This is episode 124. My thoughts about Comixology, Amazon, and the comic book industry. I remember as a teenager grabbing the daily newspaper when it arrived so that I could read the latest comic adventures of the Star Wars characters. Since I did not have a comic book store nearby, these were the only way that I could continue the Star Wars storyline. So, as you can see, yes, I was quite a nerd as a teenager, cutting these out of the newspapers and saving them so I could read them later. But you know, as I got older and I was able to find the comic books and I had the money to buy them, I started collecting these. And I have been collecting these ever since. Over the last 4 decades, as you can tell, I have collected a lot of comic books. This is only a small portion of my collection. But I have also downloaded a little app known as Comixology, or Comixology, however you want to say it. I like the app's features, and I enjoyed reading them on the app. Now, granted, Amazon's played around with it since they bought it, and yes, Amazon does own this app now, so we have to kind of put up with them a little bit. But this past week, I have heard some, I don't know if there's so much rumors anymore, but I've heard that Amazon has laid off a lot of staff, including a lot of staff from Comixology. Now, depending on who you listen to online, it could be 50% of the staff, it could be 75% of the staff. I've even heard one report saying 95% of the staff. I have no idea how much of the staff has been laid off. I know nobody who works there. I am simply a consumer. I like reading the comic books. And yes, I do like the app overall. I think it works out really nice that I can read my comic books right here on the app and save the condition of my other comic books. Keep them from getting wear and tear and bent corners and stuff like that. So, what do I think about what's going on with Comixology? Well, let me tell you how I feel about the situation. Okay, first of all, once I downloaded Comixology and started playing around with it a little bit, I discovered it's a great way to read comic books. You could take your whole collection on the road with you wherever you go. But there was a few problems. First of all, when I buy a comic book today, and this is January 2023, a new comic book could be anywhere from $3.99 to $4.99. So $5 for a new comic book. The first Star Wars comic book, 30 cents. They've come a long way since then as far as the prices go. The worst part about digital comic books is they wanted you to pay the same price as an actual physical copy of the comic book. Well, why in the world should I pay $3.99 for a digital comic when I can get the actual comic book for $3.99? There's no paper involved with this. There is no distributing involved. There's a lot of savings for the comic book company when you download a digital comic book. Yes, you still have to pay the writers and the inkers and the people who work on the comic book and so forth. But you're saving money by not printing it and distributing it. So why aren't the digital comics less expensive? I don't know. The second thing is that a while back, Amazon, after they bought Comixology, decided that you can't buy comic books through the app anymore. That was one nice feature of the original app. You could actually buy the comic books through the app. Well, Amazon decided now that you've got to buy them through the Amazon store. And then once you buy them there, they will show up in your Comixology app. That's kind of a roundabout way of doing things. It makes it more, maybe not a lot more complicated, but it does make it more complicated. And when it did happen, for some reason, the comics that I had bought previously were not showing up on my app. So it took me a while, and I think it even took a phone call to try to get my Amazon account and my Comixology account synced together to show all my comics on here. So I almost quit Comixology at that time, but we got it worked out. I got them back on here and so forth. So I'm back to liking the app again. But unfortunately, I'm not buying many comic books that way anymore. Another thing that I've kind of noticed, and other people have noticed this too, is that DC and Marvel never really took to the digital comic format. I heard it said on another person's video, and I forget which one it was, but that Marvel, I think they said Marvel, only commits to about 50% of their comic books to be available in the digital form. Okay, maybe from a business perspective, I can see that a little bit, but if you want people to accept the digital form, don't you think you'd want to get as much of your product out there as you can so that people rush to this digital form? After all, you are saving money as a company by doing that. I don't know. And then, of course, you've got DC and Marvel each coming out with their own apps for their own products. Well, now they've made a competitor to the Comixology app. Doesn't seem to me to be a real good idea, because I'm wondering, have they ever heard of the streaming wars and how that's going? Everybody creating their own little streaming service. It's not going very well, and I can see the comic books thing here kind of doing the same thing, where Marvel has their own app, DC has their own app. I have no idea where Dark Horse and others fit into this whole thing. I know I have not seen Star Wars Republic available in a digital format. They're made by IDW, and I haven't seen anything available in digital format for them yet. Maybe I'm not looking hard enough. I do know that some comic book artists have decided to self-publish, and they have their own stuff online available that you can get through their own apps. So it's kind of splintering it even more, but in a way I can kind of see their point, because the way DC and Marvel have been operating over the last 10, 20 years, maybe even longer, they don't seem to care about the artists too well. I like going to the comic book store. It is a fun place to go. Granted, it's 30 miles away from me for the nearest one in either direction. I've got one that way that is an actual comic book store, so I can get new comics and old comics there. And then 30 miles this way is kind of a novelty store that also has comic books, but they don't carry the new comic books. They're basically just older comic books that they have there that you can buy, fill in your holes, or buy some new ones, try out a new series or whatever. So if I'm going to go to the comic book store anyway and spend the same price on a comic book physical form that I would buy for a digital form, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to buy the physical form. See, there's a problem with the digital form. And I don't know if it'll ever happen with this, but now with all of the controversy around Comixology, I remember downloading music, buying music, and all of a sudden some songs would disappear because the outlet that I purchased the song through lost their lease, if you want to call it that, their contract to have those songs. So all of a sudden I paid $1 or $2 for the song, and now I don't have the song. Well, that is easily happening with digital. So now if I buy comics through a digital format here, what's to say another 3, 5, 10 years down the road, boop, all my digital comics are going to disappear, or some of my digital comics will disappear. I don't trust these companies for that anymore. I've had that happen one too many times. I don't like buying digital stuff that I don't own. If I'm going to spend my money on it, I want to own it. Now, here's another problem, I think, as far as Comixology and probably the way Amazon looks at it too. If we look at a Marvel book here, let's just take this one, Dr. Aphra. Okay, one nice thing with Marvel, and the main reason I started the digital app with Comixology, is because when you buy the physical version, you also get a digital code so that you can go into this app and download this comic onto my iPad now through the app. I like that. I have my physical copy, but I can still read it on the iPad. Now, from Amazon's point of view, I can see they're not real happy about that, because who got my $5 or $4? It wasn't Amazon. It wasn't Comixology. I got my free version through that. So, yeah, I can kind of see a little bit too there where Amazon might not be real happy about that. And if we look at it that way, I guess I myself might be part of the problem that's causing some of this, because I haven't bought a whole lot of comics digital format for a while. Once in a while I'll buy one, or maybe a graphic novel if they've got a real good price on it. I might do it that way on the digital. But when I'm buying a physical copy that has a digital code, there's no reason for me to buy the digital version. So Amazon's lost out on that money. So you see, it's kind of a complicated mess, and truly a mess it is. So I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen. You listen to some of the people on YouTube, and holy cow, the doomsday is coming for this app. Maybe if they're laying off 75 to 95% of their employees, that almost sounds like they're ready to close down this app. And if they do, what happens to my collection on here? Am I going to lose it all, including the ones I actually paid for? I guess time will tell. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think of this whole mess? Granted, I kind of went through things here real quick. If you want to get more detail in it, there are people online who are really getting into this whole thing. And that's how I kind of found out about it. How about you? Do you collect Star Wars comic books? Which are your favorite ones? Do you like collecting the physical comic books, or do you prefer the digital? Let me know below. And of course, the main thing, let me know how you feel about Comixology and what that is going through these days. That's all I got for today. Until next time, may the Force be with you, and keep collecting.